Hello and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm Vanessa Rose, your host. I'm so blessed and pleased that you decided to join us today. We have a great program for you. We're speaking about public safety. It's a very crucial topic and something that we all need to be concerned with, especially here in the state of Arizona. The topic that we're covering right on our first topic is water safety. That's a huge thing, especially for you and for your children to watch them around the pools this summer. And we're so honored and blessed to have Captain Jay Arthur with us from the Phoenix Fire Department. Thank you for being with us, Captain Arthur.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, if you would go ahead and just take a minute to tell the viewing audience a little bit about yourself.
You know, I worked with Phoenix Fire Department the last 36 and a half years. The last few years have been involved in community involvement section, and we do a lot of public education in the community, such as water safety that we're talking about today.
Wonderful. And you've been married for?
Well, about almost my whole career as firefighter. I've been married 30 years to a beautiful wife, Janelle, and I have two daughters that are 28 and 30 years old. Three grandkids now. I just had one recently. So
wow, well, congratulations.
Great
so the
family.
water safety definitely holds home to you then with all your little ones running around.
Oh yeah, always important.
Yes, well, we're so happy to have you. Actually have your lovely wife here in the studio with us. So so we're going to be speaking about water safety. So what are some of the, what's the rates here in Arizona? What's the statistics as far as water drownings go?
Well, you know, because we live in such a dry, hot climate, we have a lot of opportunities to go into pools. So Arizona, like Florida, California, those are some hotbeds in the country that have exposure to pools. So it's a significant problem we have, especially during summertime, because when it's hot out, people want to cool down and they usually look for a backyard pool. So incident-wise, comparison, we're probably not doing too bad of a job, but we keep on top of the community by keeping the information at top of mind. That means that we keep the awareness level up. We make sure that they understand and know the importance of water safety. So, rate-wise, one's too many, but I think comparison to the rest of the country, we're not too bad right now.
Wow. So, why is it such an issue here with who's affected the most in the water drownings? Is it children, adults?
Well, what's really interesting, of recent years, we've actually had a few more drownings for adults than we did children. And for a lot of different reasons, probably because we're trying to figure it out. And one of the reasons is that it might be alcohol related. It could be a medical issue. A lot of times parents aren't watched as they get older and they become part of our families. But typically the drowning child is about 2.5 years old, usually male, but typically most of them that we have an concern with is the age of under 5. So that's really what our target audience is.
What are the regulations? Aren't there regulations for having a pool here to have fences or some sort of protection around the pool? Well,
each city has their own what they call barrier ordinance. In the city of Phoenix, which I work, they require a barrier for anybody who lives under the age of 6. And a barrier meaning a fence, electronic pool cover, or self-closing, self-latching doors to the pool. But again, each individual city has something similar to that, but it's not all exactly the same. If a person lives in a particular city other than Phoenix, they need to check out with their city government, see what their regulations are, but almost all of them have some kind of barrier ordinance.
And it doesn't only apply to pools, right? I mean, you have water safety that's a major thing out on our lakes here. I know that we have a lot of lakes out here and a lot of boating and things. So what's some precautions that people can take out there as well?
Lakes and rivers are bodies of water. Actually, like lakes were never really designed for recreation. A lot of people think that they made lakes so we can throw boats and things on it and ski and those kind of things. But actually, they're just bodies of water that controls us getting actual water to drink, if you think about it. So based on that, those aren't really bodies of water that we really protect ourselves like we should. So most of those environments, because we don't know what water looks like even a couple of feet down, we want to make sure we always have a personal flotation device, life preserver type of devices that we wear, because that's what's going to protect us the best out in those waterways, especially when we're not familiar with, like it is our backyard pool.
And does alcohol consumption play a big part in fatalities and injuries in the water, in lakes and in pools?
I think so, but especially lakes and rivers, you probably see a high incident of people making bad choices because they have a lot of alcohol on board. So they really policed out a lot, but that's really when you look back and find out why people have the incidents they do in water, especially adults, it's related to alcohol. And around the backyard pool, a lot of times people socialize. If they choose to do the drinking of alcohol, they can run into consequences because, like anything else, I tell people, you don't want to drink and drive, you don't want to drink and swim. For the same reason, you make inappropriate decisions around water that can cost you or your children's lives.
I was going to say that doesn't only affect the adults, it affects the children as well. If the parents are incoherent or not snapped to watch their children, I'm sure that has a big effect as well.
Exactly. They get preoccupied with different things, socializing, and they take their eyes off the children. That's what's really a big factor why children drown, is because they don't have anybody that's designated to watch them, which what we always encourage them to do.
What are some precautions and precautionary measures that some parents can take to make sure that their children don't wander off into the pool? And it's probably never a mal thing by the children. There's water and it's hot and they want to go in there. What's some precautionary measures that they can take?
Exactly. Water is so enticing that children, they don't really realize the danger. That's why the parental supervision comes into play. We actually use a system called block, watch, and learn. Blocking means any access you have to the pool, you want to block it. Like if you have Arcadia doors, sliding Arcadia doors, those type of things, you want to put not just the single lock that comes with it, but multiple locks to slow down a child's ability to get outside. Any windows that might lead out to the pool, you want to make sure they're secured. Blocking also affects to make sure you have some type of barrier. If you do have a fence around the pool, make sure you maintain the gate. It's not propped open and it latches properly and self-closing. The watching part is eye-to-eye contact, where we encourage the parents to actually see the eyes of the child. That way, if they get in trouble, they're right there. Actually, we're really encouraging touch supervision, being in the pool with the child. It's hard to have an incident if you're right next to the child. And the learning part is very important. We teach people now to have swimming lessons at an early age, even under the age of 1. As far as not necessarily swimming lessons, but water awareness lessons for they can survive, survival lessons basically, and to know CPR. If you don't know CPR before the fire department arrives and you have a near drowning victim, the chances of fatality occurring and not having a happy ending greatly increases. So CPR training is important. Once all the defenses fall down, that's our last line of protection, knowing CPR.
So it's important as a parent then to, first of all, to make children aware of how to swim. That's a big thing. If kids don't know how to swim, if they're aware of even floating, what type of strategies do you teach children? Do you teach them dog paddling? Like what is, I know whenever I was a kid, that's what it was. What do they teach them now?
Well, you know, there's different type of things that they do in water safety classes. What's really nice is that a lot of city parks and recreation programs have a nominal fee for 2 weeks of lessons. They teach them things that have parents in the water with them, and as they develop physically, they teach them different things like the dog paddle you talked about, floating on their back. Those kind of things all come into play, depends on their physical development. So those are all part of the training process, but most facilities in the public, especially at park and recreations, have inexpensive lessons, even if you can't afford it. Many companies such as Cigna and different other organizations actually pay for you to be able to swim, which is, there's really no excuse to not get your child into a lesson, even you as parents also.
So is it the same with CPR? Is there availability to people to learn CPR, and how difficult is that? How long does it take? What do you have to do?
CPR is really encouraged. There is a class, probably takes about 2.5 hours, 3 hours to go through. It actually gives you a chance to actually physically practice on mannequins, and that's real important. The fire department does have a new DVD they put out with the Salt River Project, and it's free. It's kind of a 5-step method of learning the basics of CPR. We always encourage a class for them to actually go to, but that's kind of nuts and bolts that they can use. And through our website, they can get on there and find out where they can get this free DVD actually sent to you by SRP.
Wonderful. And not only with children, but if you have elderly people in your home, how are they affected by water? And if they're not as physically able to swim or to take care of themselves, what's a good way to help them learn or maybe build awareness of water?
Well, you know, what's real important is that people need to realize that the older adults that becomes part of our family, grandparents and older mothers and dads, that you got to treat them like children. They lose a lot of their senses, their abilities, their awareness. So you need to kind of watch them just like you would if you had a 2 or 3 year old in the house, you know, and secure the house so that they can't get out. A lot of times they get up before we do. We think they're going to sleep in, and they don't. They make it out to the pool, not even realizing the danger that's out there. And that's how a lot of elderly people get found in pools, you know, hours into it because they're not being watched properly. So we got to kind of treat them like children, actually.
And that goes to say for parents not to maybe necessarily let their mom or their dad, if they're not capable, to watch the children in the pool because they wouldn't be capable to save them.
Exactly. You got to have somebody that has the ability to, in case there is an emergency, to react to it, get in the water, at least make the 911 call. And again, you'll know that by evaluating what your parents that you're caring for, the elderly people in the home, what their abilities are, and you can make a decision on that when that happens.
Wonderful. Well, Captain Arthur, there's so much information there. You know, there's really so much with pools, and in the state, so much heat. Everybody wants to get in the water, you know, so you really can't blame your children if they want to go take a little dip in the pool or cool down. So just being active in your children's lives and making sure you keep an eye on where they are and keep them responsible to know that. I remember one thing I always like to say is, you know, if you can't see me, I can't see you.
Exactly.
And,
very good.
Yeah, so keeping that awareness there so they know that there's accountability, and building that relationship with your kids so they can, you know, say, hey, Mom and Dad, I want to go swimming. And I know as a kid, I love to go swimming. I still love to go swimming. So my mom always called me the fish. But anyways, thank you so much, Captain Arthur, for that first part of water safety. That's so educational to our audience. If you have any questions, Captain Arthur has been kind enough to supply us with some great resources. Captain J. Arthur, he's with the Phoenix Fire Department for 36 years now. You can contact him for CPR classes at 602-518-6008. And also, if you'd like information on water safety info, you can go to www.phoenix.gov/watersafe.html. And that's watersafe spelled out. And then if you'd like information for swimming lessons, you can go to www.phoenix.gov/sports/pool.html. Really great resources that I think you'll find very helpful. Something that's very crucial to you as a parent, and if you know people that have children, to make sure that they're really aware and educated of what's going on. Thank you so much for joining us for this first segment. Captain Arthur is going to stay right here with us, and we hope that you will as well, so we can discuss car seats and booster seat information, which is another very crucial topic for parents. So we'll see you in just a second right after this PSA.
This video was submitted by a student through the Safety Scholars Program. For more information on teen safety, visit driversedge.org.
Hello and welcome back to Joy in Our Town. I'm so happy you decided to stay with us. If you just happen to be joining us, we're speaking about public safety, and we're here with Captain J. Arthur of Phoenix Fire Department. He's been with them over 36 years now. And now we're going to be discussing car seat and booster seat information. This is a very big topic for parents. I know that a lot of people have questions. They may not understand how to install them or do them. And Captain Arthur has been kind enough to join us and explain a little bit in brief detail, and so you can get more information on how to find out more. So, Captain Arthur, I know it's a law in the state of Arizona to have a child in a car seat until the age of 5. What does that entail? Is it weight, just age? How does that work? What's the actual law?
Well, there's many laws throughout the United States, but in Arizona in particular, you have to have a child in a car seat, and they have to be secured in the car seat, and that's attached to the seat of the vehicle under the age of 5. There is no height or weight requirement in it. We're just talking about age there. So up until the age of 5, it's the law in the state of Arizona to be secured.
And what is the repercussions if an officer pulls you over and you don't have your child in a car seat?
Well, depending on what jurisdiction you get pulled over, there is a pretty substantial fine for that as far as not securing your child. There are a lot more awareness of police officers now to look for children that are unsecured in vehicles. Not so much they're looking to get people citations, but to make sure the child's safe, because an unrestrained child is just an injury waiting to happen. That's why they really are enforcing it probably at a higher rate than normal.
Being with the fire department for so long, what are some of the things and risks that you've seen with if children that maybe were in an accident or something happened that were not restrained correctly?
Well, you know, the force of a crash is so violent. You know, when we go and get a fender bender, we don't think about it. But when you're going 40 miles an hour and you hit an object, a stationary object or an object going that same way in the opposite direction, that force is so violent that an unrestrained child will just get thrown around and tossed around like a rubber ball in a car. They have a chance to be ejected, thrown out a window, thrown from the back seat to the front seat, wherever they might be located, or completely outside the vehicle. And all the trauma can occur by them hitting other things in the vehicle or being thrown out. The consequences are just horrendous. So we see that a lot when they're not secured. So it's a tragedy that is really hard to overcome once it happens. So that's why the car seat prevention is so important.
And that being said, where's the car seat supposed to be located in the car?
Well, the ideal place for a seat is in the middle and the back seat. Okay. Now, if I could tell you as an adult, if the safest place for you to sit, if you could reach the gas pedals and the brakes, you sit in the middle back seat, because that's the safest place to be.
Okay.
Because of the intrusion from side impact, front and back, that's really the ideal place to put a child. So if you only have one child, that's perfect. And because of so many different angles where a car can reach you. So if you had a choice, that's where you wanted to be at. Child rear faces up until right now the standards are a year old and 20 pounds. The new recommendations are going to riding a child rear facing in their seat up to 2 years. They've been doing that in Europe for over 20+ years, and their incidence of fatalities for children that young have been real low. So that's what we're kind of leaning toward as a country. Once they get 2 years old, or at least a year and 20 pounds, they can be turned forward facing in a vehicle, and they stay that direction until they're 5 years old. And then it goes up to what we call a booster seat. A booster seat is actually a seat that isn't attached to the vehicle seat, but it's kind of like, a better example would be like if you had a phone book to sit on and lift you up so you'd fit in the seat belt. Mm-hmm. A booster seat is designed to put you in a vehicle and let the normal seat belt that would fit an adult fit you in a proper location. It lifts you up so the lap portion goes around your waist, not over your hips instead of over your abdominal or your belly area, and make sure the shoulder strap goes across the chest and over the shoulder instead of around your neck. And that's what a booster seat does. There's no law in Arizona, one of the few states that doesn't have a booster seat law, but for the safety of your child, you want them to be up to 4'9", and sometimes that can be 11 years old, you still be in a booster seat, depends on how fast you develop physically. So we want them to be in booster seats up until the age where they could sit in the seat without any assistance and use a regular seat belt.
So that really affects them. If you were to be in a crash and there was an impact, it could injure them. Otherwise, if it's hitting in the wrong place or up on their neck or in their abdominal area, it could have some very crucial effects on them health-wise, correct?
That's right, and people don't realize that. They think that once they're 5 years old and they graduate out of their car seat, that they just throw a seatbelt around them and mom and dad thinks they're doing the right thing because they have a seatbelt on. But actually, if they are lined up in the wrong place, then you actually have consequences. A high belt around the abdominal area causes internal injuries, a bleeding where they can die from shock. Wow. And the one around the neck, you could actually snap someone's neck with a seatbelt around them, even though you think you're protecting them. So the proper placement is real crucial. That's why a booster seat is so effective.
And every kid wants to sit in the front seat, but when should they be allowed to? Because you have that airbag there that could really affect them. That's
another good point, too. The airbag is something we want to keep the children away from. Up until the age of 13, basically under the age of 13, they want you sitting back. And we try to encourage the kids back is where it's at, because it is the safest place to sit, like we mentioned. And the deployment of the airbag is something that, even with the seatbelt on, could come into play of injuring you. If for some reason a child has to sit in the front seat, you want them to sit as far back as they can, put their seatbelt on properly, and get the seat away from that airbag. So if deployment does take place, they're as far away from that airbag as possible. But sometimes you have multiple children, you have nowhere else to sit the child. That's where you want to put that person at.
But you want to put the oldest and the biggest child in the front, correct?
Depends on the children in the seat, but that's usually what's going to take place. They have more control. The seatbelt probably fit them a little better. So you want to put them up in that location.
And as far as seatbelts go for even adults, that is a law in the state of Arizona to wear a seatbelt, correct?
Yeah, if you're driving your vehicle and you're the age of 16 and under, you need to have your seatbelt on. And that's real important. People don't realize that. That's why they have a buckle up law in Arizona, as they do in many other states. So it is a citation issuing event if you don't wear your seatbelts. But really, again, it's not getting citations out. What we're trying to do is make sure that you're safe. And when you're secure in the seatbelt in your car, that's where you want to be. Think about your vehicle as being a giant metal cage, and you want to be protected by that. So no matter what forces hit you, if you're in the same place you started before the incident as you do after, that's where you want to be. If not, you're going to be tossed around and it may be ejected out of a car. So it's real important that you do have a seatbelt as an adult.
I know that personally, when I was 16 years old, I was saved by my seatbelt. I hit a car at 65 miles an hour, and had I not had it on, they said I probably wouldn't be here. And so I've had personal experience with that. But you can receive injuries from the seatbelt, but they're going to be much less severe than if you were to be ejected from your car or something. Because I know that I received a seatbelt burn and a little bruising on my ribs, but otherwise I might have been ejected from the car and not been here. Is there any stories or things that you've seen that you'd be comfortable sharing that you've seen where a seatbelt has really saved someone's life or really saved them from being here with us?
Well, you know, many years ago, I had a DPS officer, Department of Public Safety officer, tell me, he said, I've never taken a seatbelt off a dead person. And when you think about that, that really makes a lot of sense, and you just don't see that. People that wear their seatbelts, they have the injuries, the burns, the contusions with the bruising and stuff like that, but those are all fixable, those are all repairable, most of them go away. Like, say, being ejected out of a vehicle, going through the front windshield, having the steering wheel crush your chest. All those incidents I've seen over my career, and they're just devastating, and it's very hard to survive those. So that's why we really encourage the seatbelt use, not only as a driver, but anywhere you sit in the vehicle once you're old enough and not having to use a car seat or a booster.
Is it necessary to wear a back seat in the back seat of a car here, or is that a law here that you have to wear it in the back seat or just the front?
Not so much a law here, but again, it's not whether it's right or wrong as far as the law goes, but in order to protect yourself and to be safe, you're still going to get the same crash forces applied to you whether you're sitting in the back or the front of the seat. So you want to say, I got to put a seatbelt on no matter where I sit.
Okay, wonderful. So if somebody is in an accident and they have a child in a car seat, what's the best precautions? What's the best steps to take if you get in an accident in the middle of the road? You don't know what to do. Do you get the child? Do you get yourself out of the car? What's the best steps for someone to take?
Well, usually if they're secured properly in a car seat, they're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. What happens, the car seat that they're sitting in takes the brunt of the force. They may be crying, may be upset, just like anybody else would that's been involved in a crash, but they're going to be secure with that. As long as the vehicle's safe and there's not any chances of that vehicle having like a gas leak or in a critical spot, you want to leave the child where they're at until the emergency help arrives with them to secure that person, because you don't really need to move that child. They can evaluate them properly when the paramedics get there. They kind of know and they can see the mechanism, what's going on. Unless they're in harm's way, I'd leave them just where they're at.
So this is a car seat right here. So do you have any steps that you'd like to show us, kind of some safety steps, or you know you can't install it here, but what's some of the safety steps for a child seat?
This would be considered a forward-facing seat. Obviously, it's facing to the forward motion. As long as they're under the age of 5, they're going to have internal straps that secure them. What happens when the straps are moved forward, a lot of people don't realize they need to move up. The straps actually hit at or above the shoulders to make them fit properly. The middle chest connection here goes across the armpit level, is where you want to secure it each and every time. This buckles up down in this buckle here. So basically this becomes a 5-point harness, which is actually what race car drivers are secured in there. So there's a lot of point of contact to secure them into the seats. It's adjustable with a strap down here to get these things nice and snug on the child. There's actually a strap back here. It's called a tether strap, and this is very unfamiliar with a lot of people, is that this actually has a connection. All vehicles after the year 2001 has to have this tether strap, and it actually holds into a hook behind the seat that actually holds this part against the seat tighter, so that there's a less excursion. That means when you get an impact, it's going to hold the seat tighter. And so this is designed to hold that. So people look at this, and all the seats come with this. They wonder where this goes, and I've seen them in a lot of strange places, and they just stick it somewhere because they think that that's supposed to go somewhere. But there's an established hook that's designed that the manufacturer has to put in the vehicle that you actually hook there and tighten it, and it secures it even more to the seat. Some car seats use the seatbelt of the vehicle to go through the back and secure this so that the seat doesn't move. And they also have a system called latch system that are buckles that are in the back that comes with all car seats. They actually hook to little metal hooks in the seat bite that goes down. And when it goes down inside there, it actually secures it with the latch system, or you can use a seatbelt, but you don't want to use both. And that's what secures the seat so that it doesn't move, but it's part of the vehicle now once you put it in. And a booster is very similar to this. They seat something, they're propped up, but they don't have this internal straps. They're not held on by this any longer. The seatbelt actually goes across the entire booster seat. Some have a high back, some have a no back where they look like a small platform that lifts them up. Same purpose, but now they're not having the seats secured to the vehicle. They're actually having the seatbelt go across the body. They're just being lifted up to let it hit in the right place.
Wonderful. That's so great, Captain Arthur. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions and don't understand. And as a matter of fact, we put your information on the screen. Captain Arthur has been kind enough to give us some information. He's with the Phoenix Fire Department, and they actually offer free car seat inspections. And if you have questions about how to install the seat in your car, you can call 602-495-5437 or 495-KIDS, and the website is phoenix.gov/fire. So if you have any questions, I know that the Phoenix Fire Department would be more than happy to answer those for you. Captain Arthur, thank you so much for coming and sharing this valuable information with us that can really save people's lives and save your children's life. It's so crucial to keep them protected and safe, your little ones. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call. You want to make sure that while traveling in that car every day from A to B, that your kids are safe and that you're safe. So remember to buckle your seatbelt. It truly can save your life. It saved mine, and I'm sure it saved many, many countless lives. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you learned a few things today. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you, and God bless you.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.